Hello everyone, welcome back to River and Rune. Thank you guys for joining me on the channel this week. I'm very excited to get into this week's rune reading to see what we have coming up. And it seems to be a very powerful week ahead, considering that we just had Pluto enter forward into its direction, so it's no longer in retrograde. It went direct, station direct as they say. And essentially this represents that a lot of our deeper understandings, the emotional energies that we've been going through, all of the chthonic elements of our lives are now coming to the surface. So now we're walking out of the underworld, from what I read recently, which I really like that idea, walking out of the underworld, coming out into the light of day. So we'll see what the runes have in store for this week ahead. I like that one. That was good, that was good. And the light changes. It's always an interesting sign. So I find it quite intriguing. There's a lot of energy here. Okay, so I usually have visions or have ideas of something that comes up in my mind as I'm preparing to cast the runes, for those of you who frequent the channel. And what I saw was this well, or this lake, whose water was spiraling. It was moving. It was almost like a whirlpool in a sense, but very gentle. But it does feel like a lot is falling away for many of us. A lot is shifting and changing, and there's still more to release, is the energy that I'm feeling. There's still some more to release. So for those of you who do frequent the channel, you know how we do the runes. And for those of you who are just joining today, or just starting to join, welcome. And I would like to tell you how we're going to read this quickly. So it's as if a drop has fallen into a river or a pond or a lake, and it ripples out. So we start in the center of the rune table and go outward. And the farther that we go outward along the ripples of time, the farther in time we go. So we start in the center and see what energy is present for us. So right now, currently, today's energy into starting this week ahead, we have Fehu that has fallen on its side. Now I find this curious because Fehu, when it falls upright, oftentimes represents abundance, joy, happiness, wealth. It oftentimes represents the having of things. And when it falls in merkstaff or black staff, charred, think of like charred wood, too much of this energy, right? Or perhaps too little. But this energy, when it's in merkstaff, oftentimes represents a loss of something, a loss of wealth, a loss of something significant to you, right? But because it fell on its side, it seems to be that there's this energy of sorting. We're sorting through what we need to let go and what we need to keep to ourselves, what we need to welcome in terms of our own abundance, and what we need to release that no longer serves us. And I find that that phrase can oftentimes be utilized as a means to avoid working through one's emotions or through one's sometimes deeper underbelly of the subconscious mind, right? It's almost as if, okay, I'm going to put that on a shelf. But rather than thinking of removing what no longer serves you as a removal of that energy, think of it more as saying, my time is going into this. Am I using my time wisely? Right? And so we have further underneath the Fehu, which for me feels like the things that are under the surface, right? We have Tirwaz that has fallen Merkstav. Tirwaz represents victory. It represents overcoming obstacles. And when it falls in Merkstav, it oftentimes represents a loss, or perhaps no longer being victorious, or understanding the humility that comes with not necessarily being victorious. That can sometimes be a good thing. It almost feels like reflecting on one's losses, reflecting on the things that have happened, on the battles that we have lost, and understanding how that affects us. And underneath too, we have Uruz that has fallen on its side, and Uruz is one of the stronger runes that very much connects with the physical body, with physical strength, endurance, the fire of life. It's that energy you get in the morning to go to the gym or to do some like fun work. It's very physical, very physically oriented. So when it falls on its side, it is suggesting that this is a time of rest, a period again of seeing how we utilize, how we move our body through time, right? Because time is movement through space. So how are we dancing through the spaces around us, reflecting on our dance? And then we have Raido, which has fallen also in Merkstav. And I find this curious because Raido oftentimes represents, for those of you who do tarot, it's the chariot. So that forward motion, that transition, that energy of movement forward. And Raido oftentimes connects to physical movement. So when I see Raido in a reading, it often means you may be moving someplace, or you may be taking time to travel, or it may be time to move from one stage of life to the next. When it comes to Raido and Merkstav, I find that the wheels of the wagon have stopped turning. There is something that is keeping you back, or there is a reason why you have halted in your journey. Perhaps this is a time to reflect, perhaps a time to rest and recover, rather than to rush forward into the next project or the next thing that you have in mind. And all of this is hidden under Fehu that has fallen on its side. So I take it as these are the themes of the things that we are sorting through. So we're sorting through our losses. We're sorting through the victories that we may not have had, or the victories that we may be seeking. We are sorting through how we are spending our time physically, how we move through space. Are we feeding ourselves enough? Are we having enough water? Are we allowing for that time and space to recover and to rest? And Raido being that energy of, are we moving too fast? Taking stock of what is pushing us too fast and what is moving too slow, and understanding the balance between those two things, and asking ourselves, shall I make this move faster? Shall I make this move slower? Right? And as you are working through these things, I find this quite curious. We have Yera, which has fallen on its side as well. And again, Yera is one of those runes, one of the few runes that no matter how you turn it, it's always going to remain the same. When you have it on its side, when you have it Merkstav, or when you have it upright, its energy remains constant, because it's the constant wheel of seasons, the turning of time. It is the ebb and flow of life, right? Yera is the harvest. So again, it reminds me of what I mentioned earlier about the movement out of the underworld. It is this turning point for a lot of us of all the things that we have experienced in the past 6 months, of transformation, of loss, of the heaviness of our burdens, of the things that have not moved fast enough, or perhaps the things that have moved too slowly, or things that are moving too fast, right? All of these things that we are considering that are affecting our connection to our own inner abundance, our wealth, our happiness, our prosperity. And recognizing the seeds that we are planting. Because Yera also is an agricultural rune. It represents agriculture. conscious awareness of the seasons, of the turning of the tide. And we also have beautifully waiting for us at the end of this week is Berkano. Berkano is growth. It is the spring. It is new life. It is a new relationship, a new partnership, a new business opportunity. Perhaps it's a new perspective. Whatever it is, Berkano is that growth, the green shoots that push forth from the dark earth. And all of this is waiting for us towards the end of the week. So what I can say, based upon what the runes are showing, is that this week ahead, I would say from Wednesday up until Saturday, there's a lot of this reviewing energy, right? We are now we're turning away from our deep descent into the underworld and are looking back towards the beauty of the light above and recognizing that all the wealth that we carry with us is the wealth that is in our hearts. And how do we amplify the wealth within? We amplify it by recognizing our losses. We amplify it by recognizing how we dance in space and time, how we utilize our time and care for our bodies. We recognize it. We recognize our wealth through the balance of what needs to move faster and what needs to move slower, and of finally putting a brake on the wheels and saying, it's time to rest. This pivot is going to happen towards Saturday. After Saturday, I do feel this shift of this new perspective, a new job opportunity. I wouldn't be surprised if you hear back from someone that you've been waiting to hear back from, or perhaps you have a new perspective on something and all of a sudden it just clicks and you have this feeling of, yes, okay, this is what I want to start. This is what's feeling great within me, right? And then really far into the distance, because as you know, sometimes, for those of you who know, and for those of you who don't, sometimes I find runes that fall far, or far under the table, far from the table or under it. And oftentimes I feel like there's a connection there, that something is waiting at the foot of all of this. And that is Manas. Manas fell far from the table, and it feels like this is an energy that we can call upon. Manas means mankind. It means our connection to our higher self, to our intellect, our understanding, our wisdom. Manas, for me, also means that there are people who are there to help you. So do not turn away from the friends that you know you can rely on, that you know in your heart will help you without any desire of payment or without any guilt or any obligation, right? These people who are there to help you. You have your family, your friends, and also your spiritual guides and communities, for those of you who are connected to that are able to be there for you, your ancestors who guide you. So this week is going to be a very powerful week of review and of renewal, of death and of rebirth. So I'm very curious to see what happens, and I hope you guys comment below and tell me how this energy feels for you, because I do feel like it's something very interesting. So that is the reading for this week. I thank you all for joining me on River and Rune, and I'm very excited to be here with you, sharing my practice with you all. And if you like this video and you like my content, I am very grateful and will ask that you would please like and subscribe to the channel, like this video, because that really does help. And I do appreciate you being a part of this community and sharing this time with me, because of course one of the most precious gifts that mankind can offer to each other is time. So thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to speaking and seeing you all next week here on River and Rune. All right? Bye everyone. Have a great rest of your week.